There's no problem in that. Okay, but still, in any case, if you have anything to ask or get, this is my number. 50803. You can text me. When you're texting me, please do write your name and the batch. Okay, where were we in the last class? Did you note it down, Nida?
Yes.
So we started with fundamentals of sexual reproduction, right? Let's vegetative propagation was clear, right? So we finished with this. We have to start with sexual reproduction. Advantages of tissue culture, everything is clear, right? Juvenile phase. This we have done. Okay, perfect. The concept, all the concepts are clear to both of you. Any doubts you have?
No, sir.
No doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, so let me begin with new chapter today. So this is directly important for your school exams. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, can you see the screen, everyone? Both of you? The screen that I'm sharing, is it visible to both of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, quickly. So let's start with some basics and then we'll build the foundation. So basics means I will be throwing questions at you and you will be giving answers to me. So first of all, what do we mean by flowering plants? What are flowering plants? Aisha, what are flowering plants?
Flowering plants.
Name suggests.
Flowering plants are the.
Are the?
What, sir?
Yes, complete your
What
answer.
do you say?
I said that what does the name?
Plants that reproduce flowers, fruits.
Yes, simple. Plants that produce flowers are called flowering plants, right? Which simply means that all plants do not produce flowers, yes or no? Or do all plants produce flowers? Do all the plants produce flowers or not is my question. Nida? You see plants around you, right? Do all the plants that you see around you, do they produce flowers?
No.
No, which means yes. Which means there are certain plants that produce flowers and these flowering plants are known as angiosperms. Okay, so this chapter in your book is sexual reproduction in angiosperms or sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Now, have you read this word before also? Class 11th, plant kingdom. Remember angiosperms? There are many terms related to this you have studied. Gymnosperms, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms. Anything? Are you able to recall class 11th at all? If no, then please go back and see those terms. So flowering plants are known as gymnosperms. And what is a flower? The next thing is, what do we mean by a flower? What is a flower, Aisha?
Flower.
Yes, flower is a flower, right?
The part which attracts the. I have heard something like that.
The parts which attract the what?
The part which have pollen grains and it attracts those. I forgot the name. Pollinator. No, what was that name given for bees and all? Sorry, it's in my tongue, but it's not coming on my mouth.
Pollinators,
Yeah, that one.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So flowers are specialized structures in a plant that a plant has made to attract pollinators, which means that now this plant is doing something which other plants are not doing. It is attracting someone, it is calling someone to itself. But why do plants need to attract someone, a bee or a bird or a butterfly or whatever? Nida, why do you think plants need to attract something? Why can't they just mind their own business?
For pollination.
And what is pollination? These are just basic that we are brushing up. Yes. What is pollination?
The transfer of pollen grains.
Yes. So they need their pollen grains to be transferred somewhere. So they are attracting someone so that they can use them as a Blue Dart or a FedEx delivery system. Yes. So let's start with flower. Write down what is flower and why is this structure important. Write down. First point, write down. Flower is specialized structure. Flower is a specialized structure which is a modified leaf. So if they ask you, where does flower came from? What structure modified to become flowers? Right? Because all plants do not have flowers. So it is basically a leaf. Anyone has seen a bryophyllum flower? No, sorry. A bougainvillea flower?
I have seen it.
Bougainvillea?
Yeah.
Bougainvillea? They come in pink or white. I think these two are more prevalent colors. And you will find sometimes on the same tree there are pink and white. But if you look carefully at these bougainvillea petals, you will see that they are actually leaf-like.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
basically, the whole flower is a modified, evolved leaf. It comes from leaf only. But let's complete it. It is a specialized structure which is a modified leaf evolved for the specific purpose of attracting pollinators and producing male and female reproductive structures. Okay. Is this point clear to you? It's a specialized structure which is actually a modified leaf, and it is evolved for two reasons. Specific purpose is to attract the pollinators because they are very colorful, they have a good scent of smell, and the second purpose is that the male and the female reproductive structures, which are called stamen and carpel, you have studied this in junior classes, right? Filament, anther, pistil, ovary, style, right? Stigma, style, ovary. So these are the male and the female structures that are produced and are present inside the flower. Second point, write down. Mostly they are brightly colored. Mostly they are brightly colored. Now, on this point, we will spend some time, and let me tell you, why do flowers are brightly colored? Aishan Nita?
To attract pollinators.
To attract pollinators, because if they are brightly colored, you will easily, like, your attention will easily go there, right? But have you not seen white colored flowers?
Yeah.
Now, white color is not a very bright color, right?
Yeah.
So how do they attract?
Some white colored flowers have those yellow and all kinds of stuff. Maybe so from that.
There are certain flowers which are completely white, right? Like jasmine. You've seen a jasmine flower, Nida?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jasmine is white, right? So how do they attract from a white flower?
From the smell?
Yes. If jasmine is white, you already know that you do not have to see a jasmine. Even if you are moving from a road where you cannot see a jasmine flower blooming, you will just get the smell and you'll say that there is somewhere near a jasmine plant, right? So either they attract from color or they attract from the scent, right? Or sometimes by both. So there was a question in boards. Write down the question. Why are certain flowers brightly colored, but others are not? Why are certain flowers brightly colored, but others are not? Brightly colored. Write down another question. The answer to both will be similar. How do flowers that bloom during the night, attract pollinators? Do you understand both the questions?
Yes.
Now, you will see certain flowers blooming only during the night. So they bloom during the night, and when the sun rises, they again close. You know about any such flower, Aisha or Nida?
So maybe so. In my grandparents' house, they have one flower that's rat curry, something like that.
It's called Rat Kirani. It's one
Yeah.
called Rat Kirani because it only blooms during the night. And I don't know why they chose the word Rani and not the Raja, because probably it's very I don't know if they have seen because it contains both male and the female reproductive structures, but still it's called Rat Kirani. So that only blooms during the night. But do you understand that flowers that bloom only during the night, they cannot rely on the color, right? Howsoever bright colored a flower is, but if it is only blooming in the night, how will the pollinator see the color? They won't be able to see the color, right? In night vision, you cannot see colors, right? Yes or no?
Some insects and pollinators are there, right? Like who can see at night, and they will come at night only.
Yeah, but they do not, you cannot see a color during the night vision. To see color, light has to fall on that and then reflect back, right?
Maybe so it's gradient or through the smell?
Yes. So if they are not relying on their colors, what they are relying on? Their
The aroma.
of smell. So this Raat Ki Rani that you are talking about, Aisha, which is at your grandmother's place, it must be very pleasant in smell, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people use these flowers. So I had one such flower. I think probably it was also Raat Ki Rani. So my grandmother used to pluck it before the sunrise. So they will open during the night, and before the sunrise, she will just take these flowers for her like offering, the morning puja that she does. You understand?
Yeah.
So the point is, for both these questions, these two questions are related. And whenever any of the question, when it comes in your school exam or boards, you have to write the similar answer. So the answer will be slightly different, but write down. Um, flowers that bloom during the day, flowers that bloom during the day are mostly bright in color, so that they can attract the pollinators, so that they can attract the pollinators through their bright petals. In bracket, write down visual attraction through their bright petals, bright colored petals. And in bracket, write down visual attraction. Okay. Done.
Yes, sir.
On the other hand, continue writing. The answer is not yet ended. On the other hand, flowers that bloom only during the night. Anything, a plant or an animal which is active during the night, you know what is the word used for it?
Night owl.
Nocturnal. Write it in your terminology section. If you read a word that this animal is nocturnal, which means it is active during the night. If I say,
All.
sorry,
It's all.
it's all what? Oh, about the answer you are asking.
All. You said which which animal, right?
Yes, right. So you are telling me an animal which is nocturnal?
Yeah.
Owl. Owl is one nocturnal animal. Bats. You have seen bats. Bats become active during the evening, so they stay active.
Yes, I have seen a lot of bats, especially in Bihar.
Yes, and bats are also nocturnal. They sleep during the day, hanging upside down. You know, they never sit. They always hang upside down. Weird, no? But yeah. So write down. What was the last line in the answer? Aisha, will you please?
Flowers blooms only at night.
Flowers that bloom only during the night. In bracket, write down nocturnal flowers. Do not rely on bright colors. Do not rely on bright colored petals for attracting the pollinators. Do not rely on brightly colored petals to attract the pollinators. Instead, 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 they attract through scent, scent, attract through scent. So the other one was visual attraction. This is called olfactory attraction. Write down. olfactory. This word olfactory means smell, sense of smell. Okay, so nose is a part of our olfactory system. Do you understand, Aisha and Nida?
Yes.
Done. The definition is written and also understood. Shall I move forward?
Yes. Sir.
What is, just 1 moment. Now write down. We will draw and understand morphology of a flower. Morphology of a bisexual flower. Now, from the last class, quickly tell me what is the meaning of a bisexual flower?
Organism having both male and female gamete or reproductive parts.
But here I'm talking about what is a bisexual flower. So tell me in the context of flower. What do you understand by a bisexual flower? Nida, any idea what is a bisexual flower?
It has both male and female parts.
Yes, a flower which contains both male and female structures. So write down a bisexual flower.
Singles and carpels both in one.
Write down a bisexual flower contains both male reproductive structure and in brackets write down stamen, S-T-A-M-E-N, stamen, male reproductive structures, stamen, and female reproductive structures, which is called pistil.
Carpel.
Carpel. Yes, carpel and pistil is for the same thing. It's the same. The words are different. So you can write carpel or pistil, or you can write both. Now let us try to draw a flower and understand its morphology. Okay, so I will start with, let's say, color. So at the very end, you see that there is something with which a flower is attached to the branch, right? And this part becomes swollen. See things like this? And then it goes up, stays like this, and from this part comes out the sepals. There are green leaf-like structures that come out, right? Please pardon my drawing, but I hope you understand what I'm drawing, right? And towards the outermost part, there are structures like these, right? What are these structures? They are petals. Is it clear? Okay, both of you. And inside, there are two things. First is you have a structure like this in the center. Can you tell me what I'm drawing? You have to draw it with me. Can you all understand what I'm drawing? Nida and Aisha, are you there? Am I audible and visible to both of you, Nida and Aisha? Say yes or no. Aisha, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This part with which the flower is attached is known as receptacle. Okay. And this part here, the swollen part, is called ovary. So if we go layer by layer, the outermost layer, this green thing that you are seeing, what is this green thing? They are called sepals, or they are also known as calyx in some books. Remember the word calyx or sepals? Then this part is called petals. They are the brightly colored parts. They are also written in books as corolla. Calyx or corolla or sepals or petals are the same thing. Then inside this region here is it's called either pistil, or you can call it carpel, or you can also call it gynoecium. Is it clear? Aisha and Nida? This is the female part, female reproductive part. Is it clear? Yes or no? Aisha, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Then this part is called either stamen or androecium. Androecium means this is the male part. Now, pay attention here. The word gyne. Have you heard of one specialized doctor which is called gynecologist? Aisha, you know about gynecologist?
Yeah.
What is a gynecologist? What does a gynecologist do? Who goes to a gynecologist?
Females who have reproductive
Yes,
issues or during their
childbirth,
time.
right? During pregnancy. So anything that is associated with the female reproductive system, that those issues has to be taken to a gynecologist, right? Or anything associated with the reproductive parts in a female. So the word gyne or gynecologist, write down these words in your terminology section. The word andro is related to male. It's used for males, okay? And the word gyno or gyne is used for females. Is it clear? You understand, Aisha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, perfect. Now, in a pistil, which is the female part, there are three subparts. The topmost part is called stigma. Okay. Then this bottom middle neck like part is called style. And then the lower most part is called ovary. So stigma, style, and ovary. These are the three parts for pistil. Is it clear? And then in stamen, there are two parts. This top part is known as anther. I'm writing it as A. And this part which is below it is called filament. This is B. Is this clear? Is this clear, Aisha?
Yes, sir.
So this is pistil. This is stem. Now sepal, see here, the part that you see receptacle here, there is this green region. Do you see this? Let me use a green color. So all this part which you see, which is below the ovary, but actually the tissue which is around, right? The part that I'm coloring green. Can you see this in the diagram? So this part here, which is around the ovary, is called thalamus. Now this is important. I will tell you why it is important when it will come, but just know where thalamus is located. Around the ovary, the part, this part is called thalamus. Is it clear? Yes?
Yes, sir.
So draw this first, label all the parts and let me know, then I'll dictate you.
Done, sir.
Done? Okay, now let's write about the important thing about the parts. Let's start with first thing is sepal. Write down sepal. Sepals, or they are also known as calyx. Write down. They are green leafy structures. They are green leafy structures that form the outermost wall. This is the spelling, WHORL, the outermost wall. Wall means layer. Okay. Wall means the protective layer. Is it clear, Aisha? So if you see, when the flower, before the flower comes out and blooms like a flower, what it is? What it looks? Before it is a flower, what is there?
Bud.
Bud, right? Perfect. And what is a bud basically? A bud is, inside there is a small tiny flower growing, and from outside sepals are covering it, right? So first the sepals open, which is the outermost layer. That's why it's called the outermost layer. And from within the sepals, the petals come out. Yes or no? Over time, petals grow longer or bigger than the sepals, but they do come from bud only. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Sepal is the outermost layer, and write down it supports, it protects and supports. This is the main function. It protects and supports the other structures of the flower. The other structures of the flower. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And after fertilization, this sepal is it falls, it withers off. Okay, it withers away, so it's fall off. So when a fruit is developing, these petals fall off, and we'll talk about fruit. What becomes fruit? So you know what is a fruit? Write down here. A ripened ovary is fruit. It is known as future fruit. So ovary becomes fruit in the future. Okay. So when this ovary starts to ripe and swell and becomes a fruit, then that time the sepals fall off. Welcome back, Nida. Am I audible to you?
Yes.
Yes. So what do you miss? So we just finished the parts of the flower and labeled it, okay? And I have started with different parts, dictating about different parts. So would you like to make this, or you have already drawn this, Nida?
I have already drawn it.
You have also labeled all the parts.
No.
Just check that you have labeled, and if you have labeled, then start with the first part, which is the sepal. Do you need some time to label?
Yes.
Okay. Take some time, take 2 minutes, and I'll come back with a quick water break in 2 minutes. Okay. And when Nida is done, Nida, you will let Aisha know. Aisha, you will dictate sepal to Nida. Just I'll come back in 2 minutes. Aisha, can you do this?
What's right?
Can you dictate the sepal to Nida, like the
Yeah.
sepal part, when Nida is done?
Okay, she will just see me. She's done. I will see.
I'll just grab a quick water for me. Okay. Just 1 minute.
I am done labeling.
Yes, Nida is done labeling. Aisha, your turn now. So Nida, write down the first
Shall
sepal and I will dictate sepal to you. Yes, Aisha.
I say? Sepal and below that you should write calyx. They are green leafy structures that form. They are green leafy structures.
When you are dictating, you have to dictate with some time.
Sorry, I forgot.
Let me take one. So Nida, sepal is also known as calyx. Okay, as you know. Write down the first sentence is sepals are green leafy structures. Green leafy structures that forms the outermost wall. Spelling is here. That forms the outermost wall, the first layer. Okay, you can write down first layer in brackets. And I was just discussing with Aisha that when a flower is yet not, it has not bloomed, it stays as a bud, right? First the buds come up, right, Nida?
Yes.
And all you can see in a bud is the sepals, which are enclosing the bud. So its function is, write down the second point. The function is to sepals protect and supports the other structures, of the flower, because they are the first layer, the outermost layer. Is it clear?
Yes.
Come to the second part, which is petals. Petals are also called as corolla. Write down. These are brightly colored parts. These are brightly colored parts which also contains the scent or the fragrance. These are the brightly colored parts, and they also contains scent or fragrance. To attract the pollinators. Third point, petals form the second whole. The second layer. So inside the petals, inside the sepals are the petals. So they form the second whole. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Come to the third thing, which is stamen. Stamen, also known as androecium. And I think Nida, were you present when I've discussed that andro is used for males and gyne is used for females always?
I know that, but I was not present.
Okay, but you know, right? If it is
Yes.
andro, it is for males, and if it is gyne, it is for female, like gynecologist, right? A specialist doctor that takes care of the female reproductive related issues, right? So third is stamen, write down. Stamen are the male reproductive structures. Male reproductive structures of a plant. And they have two parts. One is called anther, and write down about anther. It is the topmost part that produces and stores. What does it produces and stores? Pollen grains. Okay, everyone? Clear?
Yes.
So this is the part I'm talking about. It contains pollen grains. Now about anther, you have to understand there are two words that can be used. So either the structure of an anther can be like this, or it can be like this. What is the difference? This is monothecous. The word mono means one, and this is called a theca, and this is dithecous. Sorry. Just one correction. It is called monolobed. This is a lobe. Monolobed anther. This is a bilobed anther. Okay. Is it clear, Aisha and Nida?
Yes.
I will tell you where the word theca is comes. So in every lobe there are two theca present. Okay. So these structures, this is called a theca. Theca is the sac-like structure. Basically, it's called pollen sac. Okay. So pollen grains are formed in this theca. Is it clear? And then this theca desiccates and bursts, and all the pollen comes out. So if an anther is monolobed, then how many theca does it have? If an anther is monolobed, how many theca can you see in a monolobed anther? Two theca. So that's why it's called monolobed and dithecous. Okay. Write down dithecous because there are two theca. And in a bilobed anther, how many theca are there?
4.
Yes. So write down. Each lobe of an anther is dithecous. Is it clear? Each lobe. So in each lobe there are two theca present. I hope this is clear to both of you.
Yes.
And the second part that it has, and write about theca, write down. Theca is known as pollen sac. Theca is known as pollen sac. Which produces pollen grains. And next line, when these pollen grains mature, the theca breaks open, the walls of the theca breaks open, and the pollen grains are released out. Okay. Clear? Both of you?
Yes, sir.
This is why they are basically attracting the insects. So when these insects will come, so if again let's look at the flower, when a bee will come, the bee will land here. Okay. So the feet of the bee will touch this theca on the anther, and the pollen grains which are coming out of it will stick to the legs of the honeybee or the butterfly or whatever insect is coming. And then they will fly after having the nectar, and when they will land on another flower, they will deposit those pollens on the female part of the other flower. Is it clear? The second part which it has is called filament. Write down filament. This is filament. Sorry. This is filament. Okay. This is anther. This is filament. Write down. Filament is a thin structure. Filament is a thin structure that holds anther erect. Okay, so it holds the anther erect enough. Is this clear, both of you?
Yes, sir.
Shall I move forward?
Yes, sir.
Now, we will talk about pollens later, pollen grains later. Let's first cover the parts. So this was stamen or androecium. Now on the fourth part, which is pistil. Pistil is also known as carpel or gynoecium. Right on. It is the female reproductive structure. Female reproductive structure. Okay, of the plant, and it has three parts. The three parts are on the top. First part is stigma, right? So this is the part where incoming pollen will come and fall. Okay, is it clear? So stigma is the first part that receives the pollen. So write down. It is the outermost part exposed to the environment. Outermost part exposed to the environment, which receives pollen grains. Okay, yes, write down. Stigma interacts with the pollen grain. Interacts with the pollen grains upon pollination. We will discuss about this interaction later. We will study this later after covering this. Then let's come to the second part, which is style. What is the function of style? What is the function of style? Write down. It connects the stigma with the ovary. First thing. Write down. It is a narrow, long, tube-like structure. Narrow, long tube-like structure connecting the stigma to ovary. Okay. And so, as I told you, pollen lands on the stigma. Yes or no? Now let's engage in some discussion. Nida and Asha. So pollen lands on stigma, correct?
Yes.
Then what happens after that? Pollen grain, we will talk about pollen grain, but it contains something, right? It contains whatever it contains, it has to go inside to the ovary, yes or no?
Yes.
So how does it goes inside into the ovary? Through a pollen tube, okay? So let me just delete this. So from this pollen, the pollen tube starts growing, okay? Is it clear? And this growing pollen tube goes through the style. So write down. The growing pollen tube goes through the style. Next point. The pollen tube grows through the style to reach the ovary. Allows growth of pollen tube. And also protects the pollen tube. Protects the growing pollen tube. Is it clear?
Yes.
And this pollen tube, so inside the third part here, what is the third part? This one. Is the ovary. Right, on the third part is ovary. And inside the ovary, there is a structure present known as ovule. What is present inside the ovary? Ovule. Now this pollen tube which is growing, it does not enter the, so it has to reach ovule, but it does not enter from the top. Okay, is it clear? Instead, it goes all the way around and then enters from this side into the ovule. Is it clear? Is it clear, Nida and Aisha?
Yes, sir.
And this ovule that you see here, which is inside the ovary, is the future seed. What was ovary? Ovary is the future fruit, right? It becomes fruit. When it ripens, it becomes fruit. And inside it is present the ovules, which becomes future seeds. Is it clear? Say yes or no? Both of you has written and drawn these things. This part is drawn. Would you like to draw this? Yes, Nida, you're done drawing this.
Yes.
So write down about ovary. Write down. Ovary contains the ovule and the egg cell. Contains the ovule, egg cell. Okay, egg cell is present inside the ovule. Ovary, after this is where the fertilization. This is where the fertilization of the male nucleus and the female nucleus takes place. The male nucleus and the female nucleus takes place. Write down ovary. This is site of fertilization, and ovary after fertilization becomes ripened to form fruit. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So from today's class onward, so in the coming, like in the coming week, all your classes will become 2 hours long. Okay, Aisha and Nida, because we will be adding a section where we will be discussing about the NEET questions, board questions, and the NEET questions that have come in the previous years in the class. Okay, so I'll be teaching you, and then after that 15 to 20 minutes I'll dedicate to that section where we will be discussing the actual questions that have come. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Okay, so in today's class also we will do that. We will look at some questions that have previously come in NEET, and we will discuss that. But before that, before we do that, let's also, so this is about pistil gynoecium, ovary, ovules. I'll come to that. But let's also talk about pollen first. Write down. Pollen grains. What does a pollen looks like? So the outermost layer of the pollen is called exine. Okay, and inside the exine is the cell. The inner layer is called intine. Is it clear? Exine and intine. Exit and inside. So it is easy to remember, right? Now this outermost layer, which is exine, is predominant. It contains mostly, predominantly, a chemical called sporopollenin. Now, what is this sporopollenin? Now, these pollen grains, when they come out of the anther, they can fall anywhere, right? They can get carried by the insect, they can fall on the ground, they can fall anywhere, and they may be going from places to places before reaching any stigma, right? Where pollination can take place. Do you understand, both of you?
Yes.
So, do you think that these pollen grains have to be very, very fragile, or they have to be very rigid and protected? What they should be? They should be strong, hard, and rigid, or they should be very fragile and soft? Aisha, you unmuted, but I could not hear you. There, Aisha. So these pollen grains has to be hard, right? Rigid on the outside. So this sporopollenin, write down. Sporopollenin is a inert biological polymer. Okay. This is so inert. Inert means, what does the word inert means? Chemistry, you have heard about inert gases. Aisha, you've read inert gas, right? What is inert means? Nida, what does the word inert means? Yes, Aisha. I'm not able to hear you. Yes, I can hear you now.
The gases that does not go into chemical reactions.
Yes, that do not react, right? So this biological polymer also does not react with anything. So if it does not react, it cannot get broken down or degraded. So this is so inert that it is almost indestructible. Almost indestructible. This is the word used in NCERT. So it is very difficult or almost impossible to destroy the outer layer of the pollen. It is very, very rigid. So exine, write down. Exine makes the pollen rigid. Okay. It is because of exines that this pollen grain is very, very rigid. Now the intine is a normal inner membrane, inner layer, and that is not rigid. Okay, and intine, write down, grows out as pollen tube. Okay. Now inside a pollen, there are two types of cells. There are two cells. Okay. One cell is called generative cell. Clear? The other cell is called vegetative cell. Is it clear to both of you? and this is the vegetative nucleus. Now this vegetative cell, write down, gives rise to pollen tube. It forms the pollen tube, and this generative cell actually forms, it contains the male nucleus, male gamete. Is it clear, Aisha and Nida? Is it clear till this point?
Yes.
So my question is, if exine is so strong and cannot be destroyed, it cannot be broken down, then how does the pollen tube from the inside comes out? It cannot break it. Nothing can break the exine. So how will it come out? Nida, any idea? How will a pollen tube come out of a pollen grain? Quickly, tell me. Any idea how will it come out? So for this purpose, there are certain regions present in a pollen grain which are known as germ pore. Germ pore. These are the regions where the exine is absent. Write down. Pore means a small hole, right? Right, Nida? Pore means a small hole. So at germ pore, exine is absent. And write down. This is where pollen tube emerge from. Because if these pores are not present at different regions, then pollen tube will never be able to come out. Yes? Do you understand, Nida and Aisha? Please draw and finish it and let me know. Then I'll discuss questions with you. Let me know when you're done noting this down. Is this done?
Yes.
So the exine is made up of sporopollen. What is the intine made up of? You can write down. Intine is made up of cellulose and pectin. Okay, exine and intine both are clear to you. And this is one question. It's a neat question. You can write it down. What is intine made up of? Because often everyone focuses on exine, that it is made up of sporopollen, but it was a previous year question where they asked what is intine made up of. So it is made up of cellulose and pectin. Is it clear? Now these pollen grains have different viability. Okay? Like they stay viable for some time. After that, they die. Like they cannot fertilize or they cannot interact with the stigma anymore. So write down another neat question. This is the first neat question. Another neat question is, write down pollen grains lose their viability. Within 30 minutes. Of their release in. Within 30 minutes of their release in. Option A is rose. B is potato. Third is P. Fourth is wheat. Think of right answer. Right answer is wheat. Okay. Why is the right answer wheat? Because it's a monocot. Is it clear? Wheat is a monocot. Remember monocot and dicot plants? Previous classes, monocots and dicots plants. Nida and Aisha, these are the neat questions we are discussing. Okay. Have you noted this down?
Yes.
Okay. Now one more thing I want to tell you, which will be last for today's class. Another question has come. So I told you about this stamen, right? And I told you about the anther, the theca. Now this anther, pollen grains are present in the pollen sac, but the wall of anther, write down, the wall of the anther contains a layer. Wall of the anther contains a layer known as tapetum. This is in your NCERT as well. Tapetum is the wall. The wall of the anther contains a layer called tapetum, which provides nourishment. To developing pollen grains. Okay. And this is also question. What is tapetum? Tapetum is a layer in the wall of anther that provides nourishment to the developing pollen grains. And to provide nourishment, if a cell is providing nourishment, then that cell is multinucleated most of the times. So tapetum is also multinucleated. In one cell there are, what do we mean by multinucleated? Simple, multi and nucleated. What does it mean, Nidam?
More than one nucleus.
In the same cell, right? Because if there will be more than one nucleus, there will be more protein synthesis happening. Remember, DNA makes RNA, RNA makes proteins. Ribosomes read the mRNA and makes protein. Previous classes, cell chapter, ribosomes, protein synthesizing factory of the cell.